So today we have this mini teach-in on all of the different flavors of why we need to have a democratized money system. So we're going to go straight to our rainbow topics. And our first guest that will explain, dang it, technical difficulties here, is we have several reasons why we're doing May Day. And yes, thank you everyone for joining. Peace from Michigan, ancestral land. Yes, great reminder. I'm joining you already in Chicago, and I'm really excited to be here on the ground, getting some more excitement built and putting stickers all over the place about this May Day stuff. So we're going to explore these reasons for the teach-in, reasons for just money, and we're going to go right to our interviewing our guest speakers today. So I'm going to spotlight Alfonso and Jenny, who are our guests, who talk about the topic of just money for the just democracy. So we know that money is power, and we know that money can be used for bad stuff. So on today, can you walk us through like the basics of why money equals power, and what exactly are the mechanisms that make that visible? And we have Alfonso, and have I spotlighted you? Yes.
Yes. Hi, Fernanda. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us here. One of the most alarming aspects is how corporate interests have hijacked our political system by using their their financial resources to buy influence and shape the policies that benefit their bottom lines at the expense of ordinary citizens. That is why our primary focus at Move to Amend is the We the People Amendment, which aims to restore the democratic control over the policies, over the policy process by ending the insane legal notion that corporations are people and establishing that corporations are not entitled to the same rights as people, real people.
Yeah, absolutely, Alfonso. The concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few corporations have led to widespread inequality, economic and systemic injustice. We need to create an authentic democracy and ensure that it serves the interests of all people, not just the wealthy and the powerful.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you both for sharing your insights. So how does the We the People Amendment that you actively have a really cool amount of co-sponsors in Congress right now, HJR 54, how does that align with the goals of Alliance for Just Money and democratizing money?
Yeah, we currently have 83 and hoping to add more soon. So yeah, that is an excellent question, Fernanda. And the We the People Amendment, HR 54, as you mentioned, is the crucial first step towards democratizing our political and economical systems by overturning not just the Citizens United decision, although that is an important one, but also some other controversial Supreme Court decisions, and affirming that corporations are not entitled to the same constitutional rights as people. We can begin to dismantle the corporate stranglehold on our democracy by doing that first step.
Yeah, we sure can. I want to introduce myself too. My name is Jenny Spanos. I'm a national co-director with the Move to Amend Coalition. I identify with the pronouns she, her, and I come from ancestral lands of the Muskogee Indian in Pensacola, Florida, which still retains the same name. The We the People Amendment, as you pointed out, it's really crucial in addressing the root causes of economic and political inequality. I mean, that's bottom line. By removing the undue influence of big money in our elections and policy making, we can create a more just and equitable society where the needs of ordinary people are prioritized over corporate profits. Corporations aren't people and shouldn't have inalienable rights meant for human beings.
That is a perfect way to highlight all of these interconnections. Listeners out there and guests today, if you have any questions about how the just money and the just democracy movement are connected, please let us know. We're happy to answer all of these and join us in May Day for Money. So next up, we have the guest highlighting our main organization's objective and explaining more in depth how the bank system and money exchange works. We'll bring on Lucille Eckridge. And I'll let her introduce herself, and then we'll go through some questions, or just go and explain why are we calling Just Money?
Yeah, thanks, Fernanda. So yeah, May Day for Money is a public action and set of educational events about the systemic underpinning of our political economy, which is modern money. Something too few of us know enough about, despite the fact that we all depend on money today, and despite also money itself being an amazing human invention, as old really as human history. The earliest of writings have records of accounting systems that basically were money. But the particular way that modern money developed over the past 700 years, we're not just talking about 100, really, it was gradually developing over 700, and was first institutionalized in the form we have today in 1694 England, and then 1913 United States. That's the
1913, that's when the Federal Reserve Act happened, right?
Yep. And that's the systemic cause of our unjust economic and ecological exchange relations are really built into that money system. Reforming it is both possible and necessary for the cessation of the increase in those problems of injustice and inequity and unsustainability at their source, and then being able to do the work sustainably and effectively to resolve over time within a market economy with just exchange, just money, commensurable exchange with just money, do the work that we know how to do to actually solve some of the messes and problems we made. And it's our existing money system causes the unjust exchange between and among people within economies, across ecosystems, national, local, and international. And the core of the problem is that modern money is private, debt-based, and usurious itself. And what we need is public money that
private debt-based usurious. Okay, so in reforming it to bring that back to our democracy's control, we can make sure that it is not anymore usurious, and it will be public and will serve public goods, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, one more reason to support May Day for Money. Excellent. Anything else to add, Lucille?
Well, yeah, there's sort of a lot more, but maybe it's taking too long. But just the history of how it became this way, it goes back quite a while, and it didn't, when it first was institutionalized in the United States in the current form, it didn't work. And we all know that period called the Depression, 20 years after it was founded, and the ideas that we have today for how to correct it were already there in the 1930s. And yet Congress did not make that decision to do so. Instead, it shored up the existing system, and by putting in insurance for it, and by doing this little separation of commercial and investment banks that allowed it to continue, and yet at public expense, with increasing money supply, with increasing, the problem is that it's built into the money itself is extracting the wealth, the value that people produce in relation to the resources of the earth. And in our exchange, what we use as a medium of exchange, it is extracting wealth from that money, that debt-based money system itself, through interest being attached to it. And until we kind of understand that systemic source and change it, we're not going to have the conditions within which achieving commensurable just exchange within our market relations and realizing the direct exchange that people survive with in sort of gift economy that is part of every human economy now, but that we don't give credence to. And our commodity-based commodity can come down to scale and meet our needs and meet our flourishing and leave time and energy for direct exchange between and among people in non-commodified ways. So yeah, there's a lot that we all care about that depends on grasping the deep-seated historical nature of our current money system and its chaos, its unsustainability, and correcting it at that source to have the conditions of sustainability and commensurable exchange that allow us to do the hard work. It doesn't solve all our problems, just money. It creates the conditions of the possibility.
It levels the playing field so that we can all participate in the just exchange. That's how I like to see it. Awesome.
Right.
Hope that was educational for new listeners. And shouting out that I put in the chat, the action that we'll be taking during May Day is to we requested a meeting with the Federal Reserve, and we're still continuing to request that they listen to our requests that we need to look into a better system of money that can help fund what we need for the future and help take care of our people and planet. So if you click on that link, it'll take you to a great letter that we are delivering to the Fed with this explanation of what a just exchange is. Flipping over to another topic, we will discuss the green reason why we need just money. We're again following the colors of the rainbow here on all the flavors of May Day. And next up is the just money for the just transition. So I've previously done a larger presentation on this. If you're curious to learn more, you can find that on our YouTube. And I'm going to explain like how we've organized money and how it's left us vulnerable to exploitation and overusing of natural resources, as building on what Lucille has said. So we can make our economy more eco-friendly with just money because we are also re-educating people about how exchange and reciprocity in the natural world with the core economy and the care economy can help us redesign our social systems. These are all malleable systems, and our systems of money need to look more like the systems of exchange that we have with our very generous Mother Earth. And I wanted to point out that we are at a point where half of the human world has been deracinated from their ancestral lands. And a majority of people 70% live paycheck to paycheck, dependent on the system. So there's not a coincidence. These are so interconnected with the fact that we don't question where money comes from and how it is created. So 2 important reasons on why just money can help us get to the just transition is that it can help us fund the transition to renewable energy and fund the education so that people can transition out of exploitative economies and into something that helps us save the forests, slow down fossil fuel usage, and all of these things that oftentimes people say, oh no, we can't do this because of the economy. If that's the way that we're framing economics, already implicitly contrary to care and sustainability for our natural world, we're pretty already far gone. So revamping the point that with just money, we can pay for the green transition and subsidize it with this fiat sovereign money that perhaps we'll hear in future speakers, but we did have the greenbacks that funded the Civil War were a fiat sovereign money. And I'm sure many more will come through to talk about this. So the other important reason why just money helps our just transition is that it helps us really end bank money creation, and that can help us turn off the tap of all the money that goes into fossil fuels. You're probably hearing a lot about all of this defund, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest. That's a chant right now for Palestine, but also for the fossil fuel movement. We need to defund out of these things that are exploitative. So we can do that without breaking the so-called budget. And we can have a bank that helps people deal with what's happening in our ecologies. So that is the green reason, just money for the just transition. We'll go to the peaceful color blue, and I'll have on the stage Nick. Pass me a Nick. There we are. Awesome. So Nick is a really great activist, has been a veteran, and you can tell us exactly why we are supporting Just Money and how it helps us develop world peace. So big question right at you, Nick.
Well, I'll tell you a little about my activism. I'm a Vietnam vet. I didn't get involved in really understanding what a mistake Vietnam was until after I was out and the war was over. So the war was over, so I went on with life, and I have 2 kids and 5 grandkids and a wonderful wife. So things have worked out pretty well for me, but it hasn't worked out pretty well for a lot of our brothers and sisters across the country. When we went to war in Iraq and Afghanistan, that was just too much for me to, I couldn't see the sense in it. And I started to object in public and became a part of the anti-war movement. We stood on a corner for 14 and a half years every Saturday, objecting to the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And as I began to read there, I also became involved in social justice and the environmental movement. So it was end the wars overseas, end the war at home on the poor, end the war on the working class, end the war on the environment. And that's where I was. And I don't even know where I read it, but I read somewhere that the banks create all of our money. And I was just like, this can't be the truth. And I'm looking and looking and looking to try to find something to explain this to me. And I ran across Ellen Brown's book, Web of Debt. And I read that, and it explained it in a very entertaining manner. And the solution wasn't quite the solution that I thought we should have. And then I ran across the American Monetary Institute and became involved with them. And then later with the Alliance for Just Money when we began that. So to talk about this a little bit, we had the military industrial complex. When we were standing on a street corner, we were all against the military industrial complex, but we didn't realize that had been superseded by this financial sector. And the financial sector is the banks and the people that own the banks, and they create money out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Charge us interest for the privilege. The money only exists as a loan. So when we pay our loans back, that money doesn't exist. It means that we have to be in debt. You have to be in debt. I have to be in debt. God bless us. My wife and I are out of debt. Okay. I wish I could say that same for all of the American people, but that's hardly the case. Half of the American people have zero net worth. And if that's the way the country is, that just shows what a disaster we are under this debt money system. And against that system is a system of just, sovereign, publicly created money. I wrote a couple of books about it, may as well tell them, because that's what I want to do. I want to write a book. I couldn't find a book to explain this to me. And so this one here is this Money Creation 101. I'm reading it backwards now on the screen. Okay, Money Creation
It's a really
101.
good book. I do encourage everyone to get it and read it and see the great author right here.
is the first of 3 books that explains this. You know, the economists, a lot of the economists, they don't even understand that this is how our money's created. And I have that documented in the book. The Federal Reserve officials, economists of the Federal Reserve, a lot of them don't even know exactly how our money's created. They're not willing to go on record and say how it's created. So when people come out with different things, like the Bank of England came out with their statement that the majority of money in the modern economy is created by banks when they make loans. The Federal Reserve has hundreds of macroeconomic economists who should be talking about things like this, back and forth discussion so people know about it. They ignored it. When Stephen Zarlinga wrote his book, The Lost Science of Money, they ignored it. They just don't, like it doesn't even exist. In fact, and this is documented in my book, the economics programs at the leading universities do not teach the history of money. That's my second.
So education is a big part of this piece
Monetary
thing,
history.
is what I'm
That's right.
hearing.
So we all need
Yeah.
to, we have new people here. I'm recommending you get this. You come to Chicago, I'll give you a copy for free, but if not, get another one. Then I can give you one for free anyway, and you can give it to a friend of yours. So that's important. And the whole fact that we have the military industrial complex, but it's not even making the rules now. It's this financial sector that's creating our money. If we put the money creation back with the people through our government, that's where the Constitution says it belongs. God knows our government needs a lot of improvement.
Yeah, great way to frame it is like, you got to look who's behind where these wars come from. It goes beyond politics. It really is like, who's paying for the bullets? Why do the bullets and banks go hand in hand? There's also a great blog post on our AFJM website that ties more of those points in. Encourage everyone to read it and read Nick's great books. So any other thoughts on how a just money system would help us get to the world peace that we're all yearning for in our hearts?
That's my third book. And it's been written, but it's being rewritten, and I'm going over it and making changes right now. So it should be out in a couple of
can you tell us now in a nutshell, like,
but it's
how's just
Spaceship
money
Earth,
going to bring us to peace?
Spaceship Earth 101. And the whole thing, if we are in charge of our, the one thing that we all need to exist, just to exist. Okay, what do we need? We need clean air, we need
Food,
water, we need food, we need
shelter.
clothing, or whatever it is. But just for existence, we get those things because we have money. So money is the most important thing. We want to fix our environment in a number of different ways, but let's just start with stopping the proliferation of dangerous gases that are going into our atmosphere and warming the earth and creating just an absolute horrible problem or whatever. And the way to do that is they tell, well, we don't have enough money to do that. We can't transition from fossil. Well, there's not enough money. You have to borrow the money. That's all baloney. We can create whatever money is necessary to do that. We have people now that are in flood-prone areas, and floods every year, whatever. They should be moved out of those areas to areas where they can live, because we have to deal with the damage that's already been done.
Yeah,
So
we
lots
need
of
just
work to
money
do.
to pay for reparations too.
Absolutely.
We'll evolve into that movement for sure. Awesome. Thank you, Nick. I
You're
feel
welcome.
really clarified on how the piece that ties into this.
One thing, let me just throw this out. As a peace activist, anti-war activist, social justice, environmental activist, and of course my boss is my wife here at home, and she always, you've got to be for something a little more positive than that. And then I came across the money system, and that is, it's the solution. It doesn't do it for us, but as Lucille just told us, it allows us to do what we have to do to fix the earth and to make our society more equal. And without it, we can't do those things.
Great points. I want to add Mary, our other peace expert, to the conversation. Since you raised your hand, Mary, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad I got in. I had trouble the other day, but this is working great. To me, an important part of how just money is going to get us peace is that it's going to take away the motivation. The people who create the money, the bankers, there is nothing that gives them more money and power and return for their investment than creating wars. People don't want wars. Only those certain few whose entire identity and stake in life is about getting more power by getting more wealth, by getting more money. They're the only people who want war, and war is like the most lucrative thing for them. So when they're not in charge of creating the money anymore, who else is going to want war? Yeah, I can stop there.
Well said.
For, what is it good for? Only making money, apparently. Thank you, Mary and Nick. I heard in those conversations so many reasons as to why also just money can help us get to a dignified life and really understand how that path to get to those. So we're going to have another expert speaker. I'll welcome and add a spotlight to Day. Welcome on. So guiding question, I'll let you sort of introduce your awesome work with the general strike. I've heard so many orgs signing on to get their own strike card, and we're all gonna totally at some point go on strike and agree that, you know, the workers need to own, possibly need to own more of the capital, of course, but without fear of sounding too Marxist. I'm just gonna ask you, how do you see the connections between this path to just money and how it helps us mobilize around meeting everyone's basic human needs, you know, housing, food, all that jazz?
Awesome. Absolutely. Absolutely, Fern. So what we do at the General Strike, we happen to develop an eye just for seeing the big picture. By doing so, by being able to see that big picture, we're able to see the common denominators and able to unify the collective. We're able to do so. One commonality that stood out with our organizing across the board with the bridging of gaps between communities, organizing around meeting the people's basic needs. With our organizing, is definitely vital to the movement that we align ourselves with multiple grassroots orgs and individuals that coincide with our strike demands and strike needs. By implementing that methodology, our outreach is focused on mutual aids, time banks, co-ops, unions, intentional communities, pre-existing resources that's all around us. Basically, so what we're doing is implementing survival programs. Some of these survival programs were used by the Vanguard Revolutionary Group, the Black Panther Party. We're just bringing light to those. Fundamentally, with the development of General Strike U.S. chapters, having boots on the ground, doing the work, we are able to analyze and classify each community's needs, essentially, that aren't being met by the government. This practice allows us to collect data from each chapter, allowing demands to be co-created and finalized by chapter representatives and partners. In order to further empower the collective, we aspire to educate the people. We've heard this word education because we're not being educated. We're not being taught the true history of anything. So from spreading this consciousness through social media, participating in panel discussions such as this, and spotlighting our partners' educational classes, we're able to spread that knowledge and empower the collective even further. Just to add, our rights, if we don't know these rights, if we don't know what our rights are, essentially, how can we protect them? If we don't know the root causes, the common enemies, we have a lot of unfocused anger out there. So that's where education comes in, because we have to educate the people on how to identify these common denominators and contradictions within our society, which you all have mentioned before, is the privatization of money, centralized power. I don't know if I'm rambling. I can keep
Spot
going on.
on. No, that was perfect. And I love that you emphasize the education.
Mhm.
Oh, so I got noisy here. And that like also the mutual aid, as you're learning about economics and participating in solidarity economics, like in a real community where you're exchanging stuff other than money, I feel like there's a real connection there to learning more broadly about how our system is really unjust and doesn't facilitate us doing those fair exchanges. So really, kudos to anyone who and your group that does that sort of mutual aid and education, because it really brings that connection to the ground, I think.
Essentially, General Strike US is just like a starting point for society, the collective. What you all are doing in so many other groups is the point B, that we're trying to get to. We have to get everyone together. Hey, we have to educate each other, and these are our solutions. This is what we have, came together to transition towards, and eventually through creating these interconnected communities, through a better understanding of money. Hopefully somewhere in the future we can all work towards a moneyless society, and work towards more trust within our community, to where we can free ourselves even further from this money.
Might have to decolonize our money, right? Well said. Well
Yeah.
said, Day. Thank you so much. So that was our Just Money for Just Dignity. On our webpage, it's also connected a bit to the steps after and also during and before. Like we need all of this support for humanity and just dignity to happen as we are building this movement, but it really does become a more level playing field as we develop a just system of money. So we're gonna tack to our last but not least topic, and of course they're all so interconnected. It's really hard to decipher why we even chose these categories, to be honest. But we have on our spotlight now Ricky Gard Diamond, the creator of Screwnomics, and yeah, just go ahead and introduce your awesome self, since I forgot your bio. But you can tell us really in detail how it is that women and marginalized groups have been really sidelined by our current monetary and economic system. So I'll leave it to you.
Okay, I want to say that I didn't invent or create Screwnomics. I created the word Screwnomics to identify the unspoken economic theory that women should always work for less and even better for free, if possible. And so as a result, women, especially women of color, are working at a real disadvantage in this economy. And you've already talked about a lot of the reasons why, because creating money only from debt issued by a small group of bankers, and they're becoming more and more powerful bankers, getting larger and larger on Wall Street. They award dollars, those fiat made up out of thin air dollars, only to profit-making enterprises. So they're expected to then compete in an endless competition in a so-called free market, which is really more becoming an auction block. And to this worldview, even governments can be profit-making enterprises so long as they are forced to borrow to spend their own currency. It's a pretty good but single-minded system. So Wall Street wants us to believe that we can't afford the enterprises of home and family and community that are not competing, but instead are trying to connect people in a meaningful way and enable our humanity, right? And our shared ability to learn and grow together, our persistence in the face of a crisis, or our creativity in the face of a new situation. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? That is our human capability. And it's not competitive. It is collaborative. It is at its best solidarity. So education and healthcare and labor, women's literal labor for reproduction and labor in general, all have to be commodified and bought and sold at a profit for this system, or else be deemed unaffordable, and that's increasing more and more as time goes on. And that's because of the buildup of this loan burden of paying back that interest. It just gets, the prices just keep going up and up and up. I mean, I don't know if any of you get those birthday cards that say, in the year you were born, in my case, it's a long time ago, here's what it cost to buy a pound of hamburger or buy a gallon of milk. And it's always an astonishingly small amount of money, isn't it? You don't see the reverse happening. And that's because of the way the money system works. So I've decided, I think, that Wall Street and its culture doesn't really believe in the pronouns we and our and us. Instead, it elevates the individual I alone atop a big pyramid scheme. And far from fixing things, I alone hoards billions and billions of other people's IOU debt dollars in hopes that maybe that we, the people, won't notice, much less protest against their particular gender, their particular race, their generalized arrogance that tends to look like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Dr. Frankenstein in a virtual world of more and more passwords that are driving us all crazy, and artificial intelligence. I think we need some real full-bodied human intelligence to set this system straight.
Indeed. Wow. So many concepts there. So I heard a mention of the care economy in all of this conversation quite a bit. And that really is the core economy. You know, you're at home, we have the nuclear family, maybe a different shade of family melange, but you know, it's just exchange and gifting. And how's that so different, right, from like the world we're living in? So I do think that just money and this proposal of AFJM to get us a democratized system of money can help us pay probably for more of the care work being done and support these minority classes. How do you think that would roll around, Ricky?
Well, it's true. It would make affordable a different kind of investment with a really long-term return on investment, an ROI. It would be slower in coming, perhaps. It wouldn't guarantee an elimination of sexism and racism in our society, but it ideally would allow more freedom to address crises, you know, to respond on a dime to critical crises, to build bridges of understanding, to find solutions. It would just free up a great deal of time, and it would lessen the fear. Debt money, when it's created, imposes time limits. It demands more than it's giving you. You've got to give back more than you got. And so there's that added pressure, and there's the fear that comes along if something goes wrong, and often things do go wrong. In fact, now that we have a growing number of women, for the first time, huge numbers of young mothers joining the job market, and people want to blame feminism for that. But I'm sorry, it's really about 40 hours of pay no longer being able to support a household. It now takes 80 hours of pay, at least,
True.
maybe
Mhm.
more. That's if you find a good buy. So we need to ask, why is that? Why have those costs increased in that way? And how could we provide ourselves more of the time we need to build those bridges, to find those connections in our community? And I don't think that an end to sexism and racism will happen automatically or
Mhm.
quickly, because they're pretty baked in. But I do think it would give us a fair shot, a more, because, when you meet people face to face and you have a conversation with them that isn't about money necessarily, it might be about, who knows, like things like music or gardening or your children or all recipes, all those kinds of things that human beings like to do. Um, you get to know people on a more personal level, and it becomes easier to build those bridges than the money culture makes possible, where endless competition is the goal.
Right. And yeah, coming back to that point, like women in the workplace becoming leaders and presenting our own visions for like what is long-term sustainability. I don't know if women are the better at that, like long-term thinking, but like, yeah, it seems like our economy has been very short-sighted in quite a lot of ways, and we are now experiencing a wreck of a planet as a result. So I
Yes,
empathize with that feminist movement for sure.
I think mothers and women generally have a bigger stake in a peaceful economy, because that kind of sustainability, that kind of dependable resources is important if you're providing for your family and expecting to put dinner on the table every night. Somehow you want to get past whatever arguments are in the way of that and find a solution.
More collaboration. Heck yeah.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Ricky. I'm seeing in the chat also like the point of corporations, and yeah, wow, there's so much to digest here. We've got Nick raising his hand, so I'll give him a word, and then we will transition to wrap up our teach-in section and go on to explain more about what May Day is and how fun it's going to be.
Well said, Ricky. I appreciate everything you said.
Thank
I wanted to ask you, I in my third book, Spaceship Earth 101, it's not out yet, but I come up with different things that I would like to see financed. And I think the number one thing that I at the top of the list is a universal basic income for all adults, and how that you feel about that.
I think that might very well be a solution. I don't think it's a single solution,
Right.
but I do think when artificial intelligence is now threatening even more jobs, technology has already eliminated a lot of jobs. And I know we're told that, oh, more jobs will come along, right? But it seems to me, when I look around and when you look at the statistics, that the economy, most of the people in the economy, which is something you pointed out, Nick, are not doing all that well. And so if jobs aren't an option, there is that ongoing work of family and community and one's own development and learning, and all of those things are actually take our time and our attention and can be defined as work. And I think just the work of staying healthy takes time and attention, and the whole country would benefit from investing in that with a dependable income, a basic income. We have lots of evidence that it doesn't cause people to quit their jobs. And like Joe Manchin was worried that, with the child tax credit, that parents would be just buying beer with it and, goofing off.
That's insulting.
Yes, it is.
Thankfully, it's a cultural transition as these policies evolve as well. It's both works that we have to be, have our boots on the ground for. Maybe our boots, maybe our stilettos, whatever, gender expression you want to take on. It's all valid and helpful to our economy and taking care of each other. Amazing. What great topics in May Day. So we're gonna have on now our co-director Ryan to walk us through some more of the events. We heard the reasons. I hope it landed with folks today. So many interconnected problems where the root cause is where our money comes from, and that when we call for just money and May Day for our economic, home, and planetary management, we can really call for better solutions to happen. So starting our event description, I can share screen to our lovely event description page. And
Sweet, that would be great.
heck yeah. So these were the many reasons. Again, May Day is on May 18th, and we will be marching to around the Federal Reserve. Let's have Ryan walk us through the map. Where are you at?
That's what I was brought here for. I'll do it.
So here's our mappy map. What's happening
I can actually,
Friday? Yeah.
if you want to give me screen
Sure.
sharing power,
Why
and
am
then I
frustrated?
can.
Oh. Gallery. Ryan is now a co-host.
Cool. Alrighty. So this can be
So come to
found on
Chicago.
our
Mhm.
lovely Mayday page that can be found at monetaryalliance.org/Mayday. So our festivities, they don't start on the 18th, nor do they end on the 18th. This is a whole weekend long festivity that we are doing. So our events will start on Friday, where at noon, we are going to meet outside of the Fed. This will be a smaller group, but we're going to gather, do some chanting and sharing that letter that Fernanda referenced earlier on this call. And then where we're really hoping to get a good turnout Friday evening, we are doing a screening of Outgrow the System, which is a pretty cool movie. It's an hour long, talking about tying in the environment with a bit of donut economics and really rethinking our economy so that it works for the people and the planet. We will be hosting this at the Climate Action Museum, which is a local spot in Chicago that has a display up that attendees will be able to view prior to the screening. So we invite you to come out for that. It is important to note that seats are limited. The space is limited in capacity. So if you are planning on attending, please be sure to get your tickets for that. Everything is free or donation based. So it's fully accessible to you if you wish to come. Although for the screening, we do suggest a $10 donation, but we will not turn anyone away. Highly suggest going to that. And the cool thing is if you're not able to attend in person, you can register for our Zoom event. We'll be live streaming the Q&A after the screening. And if you register for that, we will give you a special link that has a access code to view this Outgrow the System.
So you can watch it at home with your family with popcorn. Wow. Thank you, AFJM.
You sure can. And so that way, you can still participate. And even if you're not able to attend the Q&A, this is a good opportunity to watch this movie that is quite powerful. So that wraps our festivities up for Friday, and then moving into Saturday. Saturday is our big march and rally. We are asking folks to meet us at Alexander Calder's Flamingo statue at 11:30. We will begin promptly at 12, and our march will be at the top of the event. And let me zoom out. This is a little bit big, but this is our march. This is the Calder's Flamingo sculpture that we will be starting at. And then we're going to do a bit of a loop around this, stopping at the Chicago Fed, as well as some other prominent buildings here that we'll be talking about on the march. And then moving on up to the Bank of America, and then Chase Tower, and then going on down over to Citibank Cafe, as well as there's the Pritzker Military Museum and Library, where you'll hear again from Nick. He will be talking a bit about some of what we've already heard tonight, but a little more personal in front of this area. And then we'll be going down Michigan Avenue and back over to the Calder's Flamingo sculpture. So if you noticed, I mentioned Bank of America, Chase Tower, Citibank. Those are some of the leading, the
Big
top,
banks.
they're in the top 4 of the biggest polluters, as well as they're nationally significant as well as globally significant. So the one bank we weren't able to hit because it was a bit out of our way, as well as Fargo. So just to note that. And then we'll be coming back here for a rally where we will hear from folks in all of the movements that we've addressed today in our flavors of monetary reform. So as well as some other partners, you'll be hearing about time banking and End the Fed, etc. So the rally will be informative as well as mobilizing for us.
And there's
And-
music and chants and also some art to be displayed. And we'll have maybe an art build that you can join. Details coming soon. And then what, Ryan? Sunday over?
And
I'm
then-
Saturday?
Saturday is not over. In case you have not gotten enough on monetary reform, by the end of the rally, there will be a staged reading of Fantopia, a parable on monetary reform. That will be, the reading will be an hour long, and there will be a Q&A after. But prior to the reading, there will be pizza. So we're hoping that you'll be hungry after the rally and want to join us for pizza, and then this nice relaxing way to end the evening. A bit of a dramatic performance. We've had a wonderful director, Janet Wilson from Illinois State University, working with us on this. So it is quite the production. You don't want to miss it. And I will shout out that this event does require registration. So we have limited seats, and also just so we know who's coming, we are requiring registration for that. Again, free or donation based. So you all are welcome to join us. That concludes Saturday. So after that, you are free to go wherever you want. And then on Sunday, come back and join us again, where we will be hosting some small groups, some more information, a little bit of a deeper dive on some of the concepts that we'll be covering over the weekend. And then we'll be serving lunch there as well. And it's a time for us, as I said, to do a little bit of a deeper dive and to really be in community with each other and get to know each other on a smaller scale with these small groups, and hopefully come up with some takeaways that we can then move forward with monetary reform so that this event doesn't just end on Sunday. And that'll be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Limited seats, registration required, free or donation based. So we hope you will join us for that. And I will share this in the chat. This is our page on Eventbrite where you can see the events that do require registration. And there's more information about these events on this page. So there's that for you. And I think that ends my presentation.
Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure to work with the entire May Day committee team in planning all of this. And I wanted to hype you all a bit more by sharing some of the merch that we'll be having, and giveaways, stickers, and buttons that will be developed with some of these designs. Change the money, change the system, not the climate. We gotta democratize money, money for the people, by the people. So start picking out your buttons. They will all be there by donation, probably. There's also the shirts that you can get, and the bookmarks that we designed last year that explain the whole shebang on, did you know banks are creating money out of thin air? So just a good way to like start a conversation. Oh, thank you, Lucille, for showing off your AFJM shirt. I am showing off my Move to Amend shirt. Our main allies here. Well, one of many great allies for the May Day events. So yeah, we will open up the floor for questions. And we're still calling for volunteers, of course. We got loads of chants and banners to hold up. So just keep practicing in the mirror, being brave and speaking out about monetary reform and economic injustice. And yeah, that concludes our teach-in today on the many topics of May Day for Money. May Day, May Day, May Day for Money. Thank you, team. Applause to our guests and panelists today. Ricky, Nick, everybody. Yes, you got your lemon and honey before Saturday. Thank you, Di. Thank you, Jenny. Oh yeah, we can share some of the music that will be shared during May Day. We'll have live performances. Gee, I didn't have that in a tab yet.
With some special appearances from Howard Schweitzer, who, if you're familiar with AFJM, you have likely heard some of Howard's music. Gwendolyn Hall-Smith will be joining us for some music, as well as I believe we'll have some Raging Grannies with us.
They're trying to handle money well.
To
they're trying to have like in the
all right. We'll have some Raging Grannies with us as well to liven up the event. Yeah, thank you. We can thank Mary Sanderson for rallying up the Raging Grannies.
you have like just enough money, and just enough money would be like,
We are the raging grannies. We don't well, anyway, and we're all about just money.
Awesome. All right, and now I will play this
so money can be stupid, but sometimes a little bit
thing
smart.
along with me. A new kind of money.
Money is how we pay our way. Money is a debt we've got to pay. Money makes us all compete, trying to put shoes on a baby's feet. That kind of money is a banker's scam. Gotta get a new kind of money. A new kind of money. And a new kind of money. Well, I heard money don't grow on trees. Gotta get a new kind of money. They lend you the money, but not the fee, and you must pay religiously. The church used to call it usury. Now they call it setting you free. Sure, you're free to go deep in debt. Gotta get a new kind of money. A new kind of money. A new kind of money. Well, I heard money don't grow lots of things. Money can get you in the game. Money can drive us all insane. Gotta get a new kind of money. Don't issue money as a debt. Issue it as a public asset. Issued by authority, elected by democracy. And that kind of money will set us free. Gotta get a new kind of money. A new kind of money. A new kind of money. Well, I heard money don't grow on trees. Gotta get a new kind of money.
What fun. Music by Howard Schweitzer. Come to Mayday and see it live. With many more performances. Thank you, everybody. We'll stick around if there's questions, but I think we'll end the recording there and then edit and upload it, you know.
Thanks, everyone.